Hey, Real Green Ninja here. The video you're about to watch is a supplement to the existing tutorials and help videos already available on the Real Green website. I do take a more casual approach because I'm presenting this information as I would if you called in, although I may have a little fun with it. This video is based upon the information I, as a Real Green technician, would provide using my experience on the help desk. This video was created on my own time to assist with areas of the software that may be waiting for an official help video or tutorial. At the beginning of the training video, I will have the version of the Service Assistant the video was made with. I will also try to be as accurate as possible, but be aware, as Service Assistant updates are released, things may change. I'm using the name Real Green Ninja as not to stand out from the other amazing technicians that I work with. I hope the information in this video helps you, so grab a cup of coffee, and I hope you learn something new. Hey, Real Green Ninja here. Today we're going to talk about how to set up an interior pest control as a non-service year repeating special. So let's begin. I do want to clarify one thing to begin with. As some of you experienced users of the software know, there can be multiple ways of doing the same thing in the software, different methods and different paths to get to the same result. This again is going to be one of the ways you can set up an interior pest control service or program for your customers. Now, I do want to do a video on how to set it up as an actual program, but I had gone around, asked some of our second level technicians, asked some other technicians, just say, what is the best practices for setting up interior pest control? And this is pretty much what they told me. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Data, Product Parameters, and then Services, Program Specials. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about setting up special jobs. Again, that's a different video. I did one on how to do repeating specials, which is kind of what we're using part of that, as well as I did a video on how to do initial services. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about how to set up the services and stuff itself. I'm just going to point out the checkboxes or drop downs that you do want to hit for these particular services, for this particular type of job. The first thing we're going to do, or you're going to want to do, is create an initial service. And what that is when you go out to the customer's property the very first time, you're going to get kind of a lay of the land. All right, you know, kind of like, okay, where do we need to put down the traps? Where do we need to spread the insecticides and so on and so forth? So again, the first visit might be a little bit more expensive, as well as it might take a little bit more time. So you could go through and estimate longer amount of time to do that service. Now, you're going to create your initial pest service, and again, you don't have to do initial service. Again, like I said, this is just the way I was kind of told was the best practice. But you're going to set up your initial service. You're going to set up as a special job, all right? And then, of course, you're going to set the rest of the parameters. You can put your invoice message. You can put max repeat of 1 and stuff like that. As far as pricing is concerned, again, if you do want to use like price charts and stuff, I actually was just talking to a customer, and we were talking about setting up a pest service, interior pest service, and he was talking about actually charging based upon square footage of the house. All right, so I thought it was a pretty cool idea. In that case, you can actually create a new unit of measure, and we called it home 1,000 square feet. And that home 1,000 square feet will then be added to the customer's property inventory tab, and then the system would price off of that size as opposed to their lawn size. Because again, you're not doing their lawn, you're doing the inside of their house. But again, for this instance, we're just going to set to manual pricing where you have to actually type in the pricing information. All right. Another option that once you get all this stuff set up, once you have your initial service set up, then you can hit save. Now, you want to then set up your actual pest service. And this is going to be like the maintenance part. This is going to be the service you're going to keep out going and doing and doing and doing. Now, I did a crash course on initial service, so you can watch that video and it goes into depth on how it works. But essentially, in a nutshell, the very first time you go out to a person's property with a program or repeating special that has an initial service, once you go to renew it, it's going to renew back to whatever normally the first service would be. All right. So again, you'll see when I show the demonstration when I add to job to customer and stuff. Now on the actual service, the maintenance where you're actually going out there and the thing you're doing over and over again, again you're going to do it as a special job. But in this case, we're going to take that initial pest service that I created, and I'm going to make it the pest control services initial service. All right. Once you have that, now again, this is going to be a non-service year job. This is something new that they added to Real Green Service Assistant probably maybe 6 months ago or so. Not a lot of people are aware of it. It was designed for the pest control companies because a lot of pest control companies could care less about the service year. What they care about is the fact they sign their customer up for a 3-year maintenance plan or 3-year pest plan. So again, they added the non-service year option. Now, there are some caveats you got to be aware of, and I will cover some of them. One of them is that at some point, you're going to get to where you're going to need to do your renewals every single month. You're going to have to do renewals for those non-service here. And again, I'll go into more detail when we get to that point. Now, you can decide whether or not you want to print the previous invoice if previous is not done. You do have to be careful with that, because if for some reason maybe the customer's on vacation for a week and you're just not able to get a hold of them and you're not able to make that visit, you might say, you know what, we'll just follow up the next visit when we can get a hold of them. We'll talk to them about it. So again, you might want to have that checked off. Again, it's just saying that if the last service wasn't completed or skipped, don't pull the next one. All right. If you want to have it set to automatic renew, because you can do continuous, you can set to auto renew, as well as with non-service years, you want to have a renew date, because you will need a renew date in the system for able to do those renewals. And in that case, we could actually have an option where you can tell the system to put that renew date in there after the first service has actually been put into production. All right. Now, as far as the max per year, that is up to you. All right. Now, again, you're going to put in what the most you think it might possibly be. But don't forget, you can actually change this on the customer screen itself. Again, this is just a default parameter of when you add the job to the customer screen. All right. Now, again, the type is going to be S for special job. If you end up using price charts, like the one customer I thought was a good idea, again, you'd select whatever unit of measure. Like I have bed 1,000 square feet for like a flower bed special job. But again, I'm just going to leave this blank here. Now, if you do decide to leave the size blank because you're not pricing on that, you want to make sure that size is not a required field when you go to save the job. Okay, I'm also going to set this as a core service, because pretty much everything you do is a core service. There's like one company that's a franchise that we work, franchisee company that we work with. They have tons of franchises. They ask for the ability to have this, and I've literally seen one report that actually asks you between a core and additional, but for the most part, everyone's core. All right. Down here for default billing type, most of the time you're probably going to do regular invoice. All right. Again, you can do statement only as well, but like I said, for the most part, most people tend to leave invoices at the time of their visit, and because of that, they'll just set it for regular invoice, so when you throw it on the customer screen, it'll be there. Of course, you can put your taxes in, products usage if you want to put it in, but keep in mind, this is the maintenance service. This is the follow-up. All right. Once you got all that information in here, again, you're going to hit save, and now we can add this job to a customer. So let's go ahead and pull up a customer here. There we go. And then we're going to expand that a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and click to add the special job. Now remember, when you add a special job, let's see here, where is that? Oh my goodness, where the heck did I put it? There we go. When you add a special job, you will want to make sure all the stuff is squared away. Your repeats and stuff are all set up before you leave this customer screen. Only because if one thing might be a little off, like if we forget to put, to build out the schedule and stuff, we might run into a few problems. All right, so what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to add the special job. Of course, you can put the size in if you want, but like I said, I'm not worried about size because I'm not pricing off of size. And of course, we're going to put in pricing and so on and so forth. But before I do pricing and stuff, and again, because I'm using manual pricing, I'm going to want to hit this update schedule option. But before I hit update schedule, I actually want to plan out how often I want to do it. So if we're doing it once a month, I can select the first week of the month, or maybe like a Monday, the first week of the month, all right? So when I hit update schedule, it will ask me if I want to reschedule this first one, because again, the first one doesn't meet, today is actually Tuesday, and I have it currently scheduled for Tuesday, which I said only Monday's available. So I can actually hit reschedule, and you'll see it actually schedules it for July 6th. But again, you can always come in here and change it. Like if I wanted to schedule it for June 22nd, I can come in here, 0622, and then update schedule. Now, I'm not going to tell it to update the first one, so I'm going to hit no this time. But again, you'll see it's going to build out this schedule for me, finding the first Monday of the first week of the month. All right. Now, again, this is the initial service. This is our first visit. All right, so again, you can have a month between them if you want. Again, you can play around, but just make sure your dates are where you want them to be. Now, if you're absolutely positive these are the dates that you are going to be there, then you can lock the schedule by clicking this little lock button. If you do not click the lock button, what's going to happen is when you post production on the service, it's going to follow these parameters over here to schedule the next one out. All right, so again, I'm going to go ahead and lock my schedule because, again, I told the customer these are the dates I'm going to show up. All right, once I got that information in here, I'm going to put in a price. Now, let's say the common price, let's say the follow-up visit or the regular service price is going to be $50. I'm going to put my $50 in here, and then I'm going to tell it to change all service prices. But this initial visit, as I mentioned before, is going to be a little bit more expensive. So I'm actually going to manually change that to $100. Again, keep in mind, this first service here will flip back to whatever it normally is. Now, you will have to remember to come back here and change this back to $50 because I believe the price will carry over. We'll check here in a moment when I do a renewal. All right. Again, other stuff like job notes to customer, job notes to technicians. Again, you fill all the rest of the stuff in here. You can put the call ahead reasons and all and so on and so forth. And then we're going to hit save. I got to hit my required field, put my, there we go. And then now hit save. And now this customer has that job. When I go to pull my work, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my initial services, my initial pest service. And of course, I'm going to select the date range of the scheduled dates that I want to pull. So let's say, again, I'm pulling for this week. I can set it for this week, but I know that that one's actually scheduled for next week, so I'm going to set it for next week, and then we're going to go ahead and get invoice, see what happens. Okay, there we are. There's my initial service. Again, you'll see it's a new sale and so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to cheat. I'm actually going to go right through and post this right into production without printing out invoices and stuff. Oh, I just want to show you something here real quick. There we go. Obviously, it's initial service because that's what we pulled, but again, you might pull your initial service and your gotta check that. Your initial service and your regular pest services, because again, you might be going around and doing some people that are just starting up and other people that are getting ready or that are still in on the program and stuff like that. There we go. But of course, I don't think I have anybody set up. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. So again, I have my date range out too far. Let's see here. Show list. It might help if I actually put next week. There we go. Again, I love this software, but sometimes one checkbox, one drop down, one thing can throw you off. Okay, so there we go. So there's my invoice. Do a preview. And like I said, this is the initial pest service. This is the inspection. All right, let's close that out. Close it out. Now, like I said, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go ahead and post this right into production. I'm not going to worry about printing the invoice out, only because, well, I don't have to worry about it right now. But, of course, you would normally print out the invoice and so on. A shortcut, if you don't know about it, if you double-click this done date, it will actually take you to the production screen for this job for this customer. Printed date will take you to the invoice screen for this job for this customer. So, again, I'm going to double-click the done date. I'm just going to throw some information in there. I'm going to say it was actually done on the 22nd. I'm going to say this is the technician that did it. Save. Post. You can print, preview, or export. I'm going to cancel because I don't care about that. Hit yes. And now, when we come back to the job screen, if I close it and reopen it, you'll see that this first round has been, or first service has been produced, but we also now have a renew date. This is the option that's under my parameters. Let's see, get there. I got way too many services in my system. Let's see here. Let's see here. P and pest control service. This is this auto renew date I told the system to throw in there. All right, and you'll notice it's 1 day before the done date. Okay, so now that I have this renew in there, now when I go to do my renewals, what I'm going to do, and again, like I said, at some point you will have to start doing these at least once a month. I'm going to go to Tools, Process Renewals, and I'm going to, first I'm going to select my company. So let's make sure I got my company there. There we go. And then I'm going to hit this non-service year checkbox. And you'll notice that these are the ones that are currently set up for non-service year. Obviously, you can see I played around with it a little bit. All right. Again, I'm not going to worry about going through the whole process renewal screen. I'm just explaining how this has worked. Now, when I want to do my renewal, I will have to set the date range here so this date falls within it. And again, that's why it's going to be every year. So obviously in 2015, you would not be doing this renewal right now. But in June of 2016, I would have to do it. So you may be June 1st. And again, this is if you have all your jobs set up to auto renew. And again, you'll see the checkbox through in there. What you're going to do is you're going to select the date range that you want to do the renewal. So again, let's pretend it's June 2016 now. So I'm going to go through, and again, like I said, there's other options. If you've been through the renewal process, you kind of know how this can be looking intimidating, but it's pretty straightforward for the most part. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I do plan to do a video on how to process renewals when it gets closer to that time of year. But we're going to hit Process Renewals. It's going to say, it's not reversible. Have you made your backup of your data? If you are a hosted customer, you need to make sure to call Real Green before you do this and say, hey, I need a manual data backup. And the reason why is, gosh forbid, something that's checked that's not supposed to be checked, or vice versa. If you make a mistake, something, the only way to fix them is to literally go into every single customer, delete out the wrong service, and then go through and fix the old service so that way it doesn't think it's renewed. So like I said, have a data backup made. And you can just call Real Green, and host customers, Real Green will make them for you. If you are a local install user, which could be maybe you have a terminal server, maybe the server's off site, but you guys own the server or your IT company owns the server, then you can have a manual data backup made on that server. Now, if you're not sure what to do or how to do it, you can give Real Green a call. We'll help you get that manual data backup made, but keep in mind we would need access to the data server that's running this, or to the SQL server that's running, the SQL software and stuff like that. And again, for most people, it's just the main computer that's in your office. It's just when you start getting terminal environments, and it gets all kind of weird. But again, you're going to want to have that data backup made, just so in case you make a mistake, you can always fix it. Also, you're going to want to make sure to build a schedule for repeating, but that's normally check marks. All right, so we're going to go ahead and say yes. It says, are you sure? Yes. And now what it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and process renewal. You can view the summary if you want, and again, you'll see there's that service that got renewed for that customer. All right, now if I come into this job screen and push F5, you'll see nothing here changes, okay, or everything's the same. But if I bump it up to the service year 2006, you'll see we actually have 2 of them in there. The reason we have 2 entries in here is one of them is for this year, okay, or last year in this case. This one is for the next year going forward, all right? So again, the thing about the non-service year is it doesn't care about service year. The way it figures things out is it's going to look at the done date, all right? It's going to look at the done date for reporting and stuff like that. If there is no done date, it's going to look at the schedule date, all right? So you'll see we actually have some over here in 2017, so if you bump it to 2017, there you're going to see the job. So again, if it's a non-service year program or special or whatever, essentially it's going to look at either the done date, and if there is no done date, it's going to look at the schedule date for reporting purposes and stuff like that. So again, keep that in mind. All right. Now, if we come in here and I go in post-production on the next round and so on and so forth, let's see here. And put my thing here. Save, post, cancel. Yeah. Oh, I want to post. Yes. Okay. Again, you'll see we're going to go through as we go throughout the year in post-production on these jobs. But like I said, eventually it's going to be at some point where you're going to actually have to go in there and do those renewals to get them set up for the next season if you guys are a continuous service for your interior pest control. Again, if you're doing non-service year, you will have to actually run 2 batches of renewals. All right. One of them for the non-service year, one of them for the regular services and stuff like that. If you're doing it for like interior pest control like this, you'll eventually get to a point where you're going to do them every month. Because again, some people are going to sign up in January, some people are going to sign up in July, some people are going to sign up in September. Again, it can vary, depending on how your customer base and stuff like that. Again, some people like to keep it within the same calendar year just to keep it simple. All right. So now that we have it in there, again, if we go here, you'll see if we open up this bottom one, you'll see again, there's those 2 rounds that we performed. All right. But like I said, you do want to make sure that when you do your renewals, that first one is at that original amount. And it looks like it did set it to that. So excellent. All right. So again, you'll see here, if we open up these screens, this one for last, and then minimize that. You'll see it actually does continue. So we start at June, July, August, September. We end at May, but then start at June here. Now, one thing you might say is like, well, wait a minute. What if there's not a full 12 repetitions? When you have a repeating or special like this we have set up or whatever, what it's going to do, it's going to treat this renew date as an end-on date. Again, this is just a reminder so you don't make sure to do your renewals. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. So sometimes you might not have 12 here. When I was playing around with this, in the past, I did do like renewals and stuff, and because of the way I had this set up, it actually renewed it, and it had a 12 round for 12 services for the first job. It had 9 services for the second set of jobs, and it had 10 for the next. So again, just because of the way I had it configured, it kind of fell really weird. And but again, if you look at the schedule dates, it will be continuation. So if I renew this service here, okay, I'm just going to do this individual renew by hitting that renew. I'm not going to worry about changing anything. Hit process renewals. You'll see, again, this starts at June of 2017, and again, it will build those out. So like I said, depending on how you have your parameters, sometimes you might end up with less than 12 repetitions, but if you look at the dates, they will be 1 month after another. All right. Now, as I mentioned before, is you might not be doing a yearly one. So let's find a different customer here in the system. Let's see here, Tom Hamilton. There we go. All right, so let's say this customer is a quarterly pest control. All right. You can still use that same repeating special. Now, yeah, you could create a quarterly pest one, set it up for the 4 repetitions and all that stuff. But like I said, you could still use the same one. The only difference is when you're going to change that 12 to a 4. All right, oop, not 40. There we go. And of course, like I said before, is you're going to want to build out the schedule. But we're going to set the parameters now. Instead of once a month, we're going to set it once every 3 months. And again, you're going to select the day. Of course, you can again select what week of the month or last week or whatever. Maybe it's the second week of the month. Again, you're going to go through, set all that up, and then update schedule. And again, you can choose whether or not you want to do the first one. And you'll see June, September, December, and then March. All right. So again, you can change this. Maybe this is a 36. Maybe this is a 3-year maintenance program. Again, as I was saying, update schedule. No. You'll see, if we scroll down here, you'll see it builds out those 36 repetitions, and it actually takes us into year 2024. All right. So, again, because I have maybe 3 months. 3 year wouldn't be the 3 months difference. Let me try fixing that. There we go. Well, every month. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, now let's update schedule. Because again, I just realized 2024 or 34, whatever, is not 3 years. But again, so you see here now, we build out the 36 repetitions a month apart, and it takes us to 2018. All right. So like I was saying, is you can play around with it. I always recommend having example customers, someone you can play around with and try out different things. If you want to see how production's posted and stuff like that for the pricing, just set it to like a penny. All right. So that way, when you post production on it, yes, you are posting production. It is something we cannot delete, but it's not going to throw your books off too far at the end of the year. All right. So like I was saying, things to keep in mind. If you want to go past the service year, again, maybe it's a 3-year maintenance program, or maybe you do 12 visits, but maybe the person starts in the middle of June or something like this, then what you can do is you can set up as a non-service year repeating special. Okay. Now, if you do, you can keep it in the calendar year if you want to keep it easy. So like I was saying, if you want to go past the end of the year, then you can set up as a non-service year. So again, going to this video, you set up as a non-service year. You're going to have it give it a renew date. Now, you can tell it not to set the renew date, but keep in mind, if you do that, then you'll need to go through and put that renewal date in manually. All right. So again, like I said, at some point you will need to start doing your process renewals for non-service year jobs. You'll select the date range. Again, if I were to start right now doing this, then in 2016, in June 2016, I would have to remember, now I got to start doing my renewals. Again, assuming this is a continuous service. And you might even turn around and do your renewals a little early. Maybe you're doing 2 or 3 months ahead, put them into like a no status or something, and then remind the customer saying, hey, just to let you know, your 3-year maintenance plan's coming up for renewal. Are you interested in continuing the service? And if they say, yeah, then of course you can just renew it, then make it an active status when they give you the okay. Or again, you can renew it with no change, and whatever it was before, in this case, active status would be active status. All right. And then, of course, keep in mind that if it's a non-service year, it can stretch between years, and you might have like 2 or 3 or 2 of the same service in the same service year. But again, it's because it's going off the done date or the schedule date, not the service year. So, hope this helps. I hope you guys understand anything. Of course, you can always call Real Green. They can give you some help. But like I said, that's pretty much it. Again, there's other ways of setting up interior pest control jobs. Like I said, this is set up as a non-service year repeating special. And I hope this helps. You guys have yourself a wonderful day.